Good evening and welcome to everyone who is joining us in the Facebook Live. I am Rachel Milke, the CEO and founder of Hilberg & Burke, and also so proud to be the honorary co-chair of Women Leading Philanthropy. I'm so excited to be here in person, even though it's a little bit different, but it is really, really nice to be at least there's some of us in the room tonight, and it feels really great to be back in person with everybody. We are in the newly renovated Vivian K. Asher Theatre at the Royal University Hospital on Treaty 6 territory and traditional homeland of the Métis. Although tonight's program will look and feel a little bit different than in previous years, the goal of the evening is still the same, and we promise we're going to bring you an inspiring evening. As a reminder, we are live tonight and we're going to try our very best to make it a seamless experience for all of you. But if you are facing any technical issues, please comment and let us know, and we will try and get them resolved as soon as possible. We feel like you're right here with us, and we hope that you can all sense and feel each other in the virtual world tonight as well. We are here tonight to learn and celebrate the inspiring accomplishments of two Women Leading Philanthropy grant finalists, Dr. Angela Barewald and Dr. Laura Hopkins. Tonight we welcome these physicians into our special circle of women who are funding, through their donations, transformative advancements for women and their families in healthcare. They will be part of the history we are creating together, and we are so excited to have them joining us. As donors tonight, you hold a unique responsibility. You get to make a very important decision, a $100,000 decision that will improve and save lives. As a donor and a WLP honorary chair, this is a privileged decision that I am honored to make, as I know you are, at home as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm Mary Kimlock. I'm the anatomic pathology division head here in Saskatoon, and I'm a gynecologic pathologist, and I am very proud to be the volunteer chair for the Women Leading Philanthropy campaign. And while the last 7 months have been a whirlwind, and the first time I've had heels on, and my pelvic floor feels like a teeter-totter up here, it's like hasn't been challenged like this in a long time. It was all worth it to come here and see what the amazing research that's going on in spite of COVID that's happening here at RUH. And tonight, before we hear our two finalists, who are Dr. Angela Berwald and Dr. Laura Hopkins, who we have with us, we have a very special update from our previous grant recipients, who are Dr. Yakel Kram and Dr. Sue Kim. And of course, I would love to invite Arla up to come and start us off with an inspirational message for the evening. Arla is the CEO of the Royal University Hospital Foundation, and she's coming to the podium now.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mary. And hello to our generous WLP donors. Thank you for joining us virtually. Tonight is very exciting for Women Leading Philanthropy, and it is because of you at home or wherever you might be right now that you're able to be a part of awarding our third $100,000 grant to one of two finalists. Your support and your participation as donors is humbling, and thank you. At our foundation, having inspired women donors join us to make a difference is what it's all about. Women Leading Philanthropy for me is about a dream come true, engaging women in making a difference for women physicians and for women patients and their families across our province. This year we are celebrating the 65th anniversary of the Royal University Hospital. I was born here 64 years ago, and so this place means a lot to me. It is our 37th year of our foundation, and we are supporting the work that happens here at RUH. Thanks to donors like you, our foundation has been able to raise and invest over $160 million into transformational healthcare, innovative research, and continuing education. And in the new year, we will launch our next campaign focused on the future of surgery and transforming the operating theaters and operating technology at RUH. This will be an exciting campaign, and we hope that you will want to find out more about it. I also want to thank and acknowledge the very hard work and dedication of our WLP Volunteer Steering Committee, who are working behind the scenes to drive the success of this program. And I have to tell you, to not have them here in the room with us tonight, along with you, our donors, feels very surreal, but I know everybody is out there watching. I'd like to thank Tammy Beauregard, Brenda Bennett, Lisa Collard, Angie Hicks, Sonia Lee, Nicole Payne, Diana Pereira, Michelle Primo, and Kaylin Schroeder. And of course, our two volunteer leaders and your co-MCs this evening. Program Chair, Dr. Mary Kinlock, gynecological pathologist and division head of atomic pathology at the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and Honorary Chair, Rachel Milke, CEO and founder of Hilberg and Burke. Together with over 110 women, including all of our new members who joined today, it was quite an exciting day, we're transforming healthcare and creating the history of inspiring women. Thank you. Our program would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Thank you to Hilberg and Burke, 1330 Creative Studio, Humanly Branding and Marketing, D&M Images, and Handy Special Events. And last but not certainly least, I want to acknowledge Sky Planning Group. Tracy Duff and her team have been so generous since the inception of this program 2 years ago, through their sponsorship of each of our event networking receptions. And this evening, I am very pleased and honored to announce that they have expanded their commitment to become the WLP program sponsor for the next 3 years. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy has put together a short video about why she is so passionate about WLP and why she has made the RUH Foundation Women Leading Philanthropy her charity of choice. Tracy, thank you. Please enjoy this evening.
Welcome to the third annual Women Leading Philanthropy Voting Night. Although we can't celebrate this evening with the previous pomp or circumstance that we're used to, this past year has proven just how resilient we are as people. Like you, I hope and pray COVID-19 to be a thing of the past, and with research, courage, and kindness, we're going to make it to the other side. It speaks volumes that we're gathered here tonight to support this initiative during a time of social distancing. It has also proven how truly necessary healthcare and research are. The pandemic has made it impossible to ignore the importance of supporting health research, and it has solidified my commitment to making WLP my charity of choice. I encourage each of you attending this event to help spread the word about WLP so we can extend support and healing to even more women. Looking back to the previous project recipients, Dr. Candice Yackel-Crown and Dr. Sue Kim, I think they can really attest firsthand just how wonderful WLP really is. Being able to complete their research and have the means to take it from the lab to the clinic is the dream. Imagine how many projects our group can bring forward with more members. Looking forward, sooner rather than later, my hope is that we will be able to present multiple $100,000 grants on voting night. Working together with passion and supportive spirit, WLP is going to help mothers, daughters, aunts, and nieces in ways we can't even imagine. I have so much anticipation for what this amazing group of women will bring to fruition in the years to come. So good luck to tonight's grant applicants, and thank you for spreading the word to all the women in your circle. Tonight is only possible because of you and your commitment to Women Leading Philanthropy. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you in January 2021.
What an incredible gift. Tracy, we can't thank you enough for your generosity and its inspiration to our WLP group. We really appreciate your thoughtful gift. And we're so happy. We're so happy to have you as part of our circle. And I am excited to hear from our 2 finalists tonight, but before we do that, I thought I would take you through a little bit about how we narrowed down the pool to our 2 finalists. We did a general intake to all clinicians, researchers, physicians at RUH and at the University of Saskatchewan that they were to provide their application into us, and through peer review, which entailed RUH board members, volunteers, members of the steering committee. Arla was there. We went through the applications and we narrowed them down to 2 very special finalists tonight. And we're very pleased to bring you those 2 projects. And what's most exciting about these 2 brilliant women is just how they align, how their stories align so much with what Women Leading Philanthropy is trying to do, which is to support and to provide that uplifting bump that women really do need as a collective. And the reason why I say that is because Dr. Barewald was a PhD researcher, and she was happy and going along in her career, and then she said, I can make a better difference. I can make more of a difference if I was a family physician, and you could get that bench to bedside research going. And so she went back and she became a family doctor, and so now we are here to try and support her to regain that research aspect that she had. And with Dr. Hopkins has been a skilled gynecologic oncologist for 18 years, but she only just moved to Saskatchewan 2 years ago. So 1 year ago, it feels like I've known you for longer. So what a way to support somebody new to the province, somebody who cares about wanting to make the experience of the patients coming through RUH for gynecologic surgery better.
So following the 2 presentations, Facebook Live will end, and there will be a SurveyMonkey link that's posted in the Facebook group. So click the link and you'll be taken outside of Facebook to the SurveyMonkey website. There you will vote for the project that you wish to receive the $100,000 Women Leading Philanthropy grant. Once you've cast your vote, please go back to the Facebook Live group where we will continue to live stream while awaiting the results. The presenters and guests who are WLP donors and are seated in the theater will fill out a ballot and they will be added to the online results. And while each of these impactful projects is worthy of funding, only the project receiving the highest number of combined online and in-person votes this evening will receive the grant. We will announce this year's WLP grant recipient later tonight, following an update presentation from your 2 past recipients, Dr. Candice Yako-Cram and Dr. Sue Kim. So let's get started. Our first finalist this evening is Dr. Angela Berwald, and her project, titled, and I'm not sure why they gave this one to me, but I'm going to do the very best I can.
Physiologic mechanisms underlying ovarian follicular waves during the menstrual cycle.
Exactly. Okay, thanks so much, Mary. Dr. Barewald is a family physician and director of the Women's Health Research Lab at the University of Saskatchewan. Her research team studies ovarian and uterine function in women during the menstrual cycle. She has acquired expertise in characterizing how reproductive function is altered in women using hormonal contraception, fertility therapy, and during the menopausal transition. Dr. Barewald's team also develops novel tools for imaging female reproductive tissue, including the ultrasound, biomicroscopic, and synchrotron. That sounds like amazing stuff, so best of luck.
I'm Pam McDonald. I'm here to share my story about being diagnosed with cervical cancer and going through fertility treatment. It was 5 months after my husband and I were married, and I had been experiencing a lot of bleeding symptoms and went in to see the gynecologist, and she did an exam and stopped the exam midway through. I started heavily bleeding, and so she told me I could sit up, and so I did, and I was expecting her to tell me that I had some sort of hormonal problem, And she shared with me that without a doubt, she knew that I had cervical cancer and that I would need to go through treatment quickly, very quickly. I was diagnosed with stage 2B, which means that it had advanced to my lymphatic system. My tumor was about the size of a large lime, so it was quite big. So once I received my diagnosis, my husband and I talked about receiving fertility treatments. And once we talked about fertility, we had a very short window of time where we could get in to see somebody. I think I had about a 2-week window where the fertility clinic was able to do an ovarian stimulation and retrieve eggs, which they turned into embryos with my husband's sperm. Once I stopped that, or once that was completed, we managed to get embryos and froze those. So going through cancer treatment, I knew that I was going to be able to have a chance at having a baby.
My name is Lorianne Morley-Kapeluk, and I'm 55, and the reason I'm here today, I guess, is to sort of share what's happened to me during menopause, which has been kind of a scary, interesting journey, to say the least. Menopause was kind of coming on, and I could tell just my periods were erratic and things were changing. But all of a sudden, I just was not able to sleep at night. I was having terrible night sweats. And at one point, my husband was wondering if he needed to take me into emergency because I was just soaking wet, and he thought I had a fever. So when you just are not comfortable going out to some degree because you don't know when you're going to have a sweat and when you're going to be completely wet, it's quite embarrassing. Like, I think at night too, like just not getting the sleep, and with my husband, you know, I felt bad for him too because he was worried about me because he knew I wasn't myself, and sometimes I'd be a little shorter than I probably would normally be with him just because I was just like uncomfortable. But when you're so uncomfortable and that heat comes from inside your body and you can't, you know, you're willing to try just about anything.
My name is Dr. Angela Barewald. I'm a family physician and assistant professor with a subspecialty focus in women's health at the University of Saskatchewan. The stories from patients that you have just heard are all too common. From a fertility perspective, we know that 16% of the Canadian population experiences infertility. However, the chances of getting pregnant with current treatment are only 30 to 40%. Another growing population of women requiring fertility therapy are those diagnosed with cancer. Thankfully, with advancements in cancer therapy, more and more women are living longer after treatment. However, chemotherapy is toxic to the eggs within the ovaries. Providing timely fertility therapy and egg freezing prior to chemo provides women with options for having a child down the road without delaying their cancer treatment. Fertility therapy is often very expensive and time-consuming, and as a result, women can bear significant financial and emotional burdens for their dreams to build a family with limited chances of becoming pregnant. On the other end of the reproductive spectrum, we know that more than 50% of women experience unwanted symptoms of menopause. The goal of our study is to characterize how hormones regulate follicle waves during the menstrual cycle in women. Our textbook understanding of the menstrual cycle that has persisted for more than 60 years has shown that follicles, the fluid-filled sacs in the ovaries that contain the eggs, grow only during the first 2 weeks of a woman's cycle, leading to ovulation. Contrary to these long-held notions, we have shown in our lab that follicles grow more than once in multiple waves throughout the entire menstrual cycle. Our findings have provided a new model for the menstrual cycle and have led to the development of new ovarian stimulation treatments across the globe for women with infertility or cancer. 50 women aged 18 to 40 will be recruited from Saskatchewan. Ultrasound exams and blood work will be conducted within our lab in the Department of Family Medicine. Ultrasound will be used to characterize how follicles grow and ovulate over the menstrual cycle. Blood samples will be analyzed locally and also shipped to Australia for evaluation. How the follicles grow and how hormones regulate their growth throughout the cycle will be determined by our team.
I'm Dr. Sue Fong. I'm the Medical Director of the Regional Fertility Program in Calgary, Alberta. The work that Dr. Barewald has conducted in the past showing the presence of multiple follicle waves that crop up during a patient's menstrual cycle is especially important to look at how this has actually changed our clinical practice today. In the world of oncofertility specifically, we've been able to use this knowledge to be able to provide very, very important fertility preservation treatments to these patients who are facing chemotherapy and radiation that may destroy their ability to have a family in the future. Future understanding of these waves of follicular development is very important. One such importance is to be able to understand any other factors that can influence these follicle waves. Are there any factors that can improve the ability to recruit more follicles? Are there better timing in a cycle based on other hormones that are in combination that occur during a patient's menstrual cycle?
One of the biggest impacts that our research can have is that we can take the research we've already conducted to date, which has developed a new model for the menstrual cycle, and then develop new therapies for women that are needing assistance with managing unwanted symptoms of menopause, those requiring different types of hormonal contraceptives, and those requiring fertility therapy. So we don't understand what causes hot flashes and other unwanted symptoms of menopause. So understanding where hormonal changes occur as women age will help us to understand what's causing those symptoms and then allow us to provide better treatments for them. And from a fertility point of view, we know that conventional fertility therapy is started at the very beginning of a woman's menstrual cycle and only at the beginning of a woman's menstrual cycle. And so with the research that we've already conducted, we've been able to develop new fertility therapies that have been implemented all over the globe, whereby fertility therapy can now be initiated at any stage of a woman's cycle without having to wait until she starts her cycle. And that's really important for patients that are needing emergent fertility therapy for cancer treatment before they undergo chemotherapy, for any woman that really needs to undergo treatment emergently.
Being able to start my fertility treatments immediately as soon as they needed to be started without worrying about where I was in my cycle or what was happening within my body was what enabled me to be able to have that hope of having a baby through my cancer treatment.
I think that if the research can find out more about the hormones and how to regulate them and how to do it in a natural process, I think it would be beneficial, for so many women.
And we ended up having a baby this May. So this is our little guy that we had. I don't know if you can see that, but he's our pride and joy. And I'm so grateful for the research that's been done so far, enabling me to start that journey, whether it ended up the same way or not. That research is what started me on this journey to have my baby, and we're just extremely grateful that it's been done and that we've got our little guy.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rachel and Mary, for your kind introduction. It's an honor to be selected along with Dr. Hopkins as a finalist tonight. I'm very excited to take the next few minutes to share with you our research achievements and future dreams for understanding hormone production during the menstrual cycle. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to become a doctor. I grew up in small town Saskatchewan, where a real sense of community and helping others was second nature. Well, growing up, my mom said that I was always asking why and never fully satisfied until I had the answer. As a woman, I've been fascinated with the menstrual cycle. Why do we have periods? How our hormones work? How ovulation results in the birth of a baby? And how reproductive diseases go awry when our menstrual cycles aren't working properly. My inquisitive nature has set me on a career path in which I've had the privilege of working with some amazing research teams. If you were to ask me what one word summarizes our research program, the word would be follicle. The follicles are the sacs in our ovaries that contain our eggs. We have millions of follicles containing eggs in our ovaries when we are young. And during our lifetime, follicles grow, one ovulates each month, and the others shrink away. Due to this constant turnover of follicles, by the time we reach age 50 on average, there are very few follicles left, and as a result, we go through menopause. Understanding the menstrual cycle is fundamental for understanding many aspects of women's health. In addition to reproduction, hormones from the follicles play a role in how our heart, how our bones, and how our brain works. Our research program focuses on understanding how ovaries function across the reproductive lifespan, so that is from puberty all the way through to menopause. We also study how we can stimulate follicles in the eggs to grow with fertility therapies and how we can suppress them from growing with contraception. For the past 7 years, it's been thought that follicles only grow once each month at the very beginning of our menstrual cycle. However, we have shown that this long-held understanding is flawed. Follicles actually grow in 2 or 3 waves throughout our entire cycles, rather than just once. And this new knowledge of follicle waves has profoundly changed our understanding of the menstrual cycle. The next step from our team, and the aim of this grant application, is to answer the following question. How do hormones change as different waves of follicles grow across the menstrual cycle? From our research conducted so far, new fertility therapies have been developed and adopted across the globe, whereby women can now start fertility therapy on any day of their cycle, rather than waiting for their period to begin. This work has been particularly helpful for women like Pam, who you heard from in the video. After a devastating diagnosis of a life-threatening cancer, Pam and her husband needed to make an immediate decision about whether or not they wanted to become parents. Pam's cancer was very advanced when it was detected, so she didn't have the benefit of waiting to start chemo. Based on our research, Pam was able to undergo fertility therapy to freeze her eggs as soon as possible. And while Pam's journey thankfully resulted in the birth of a beautiful baby boy, unfortunately, this is not the case for all couples. The chance of becoming pregnant with current fertility therapy is only 30 to 40% at best. Greater knowledge about how hormones are produced as follicles grow during fertility treatment is necessary to increase the chances of pregnancy in these patients, and we need the help of Women Leading Philanthropy to make this happen. On the opposite end of the reproductive spectrum is menopause. Once we understand how hormones work in young women, we can then conduct future studies to determine how hormones change as we age. Surprisingly, we don't understand what causes the unwanted symptoms of menopause, such as hot flashes, brain fog, anxiety, depression, decreased bone density. You heard from Lorianne in the video and the significant toll that persistent hot flashes and sleepless nights had on her mood. She found it very difficult to function both at work and at home. Hormone therapy works for some, but not all women, and there are significant risks to consider with hormone therapy. We need to conduct research to better understand how hormones from follicles change as we age, and it's not until then that we will be able to provide better therapies for women approaching menopause, and we need your help to accomplish this. If we are successful in receiving this grant, we will continue to promote Saskatchewan as an international leader in the field of women's reproductive health. We will characterize follicle growth within the ovaries using state-of-the-art ultrasound. Blood samples will be collected and analyzed here at the U of S and also in Australia. We will use the funding to hire a medical student who will assist with conducting this research to attain her PhD degree. It is estimated that 75% of women seek treatment for reproductive health concerns, such as birth control, fertility therapy, egg freezing prior to cancer treatment, or managing menopausal symptoms. Perhaps someone you know, a mom, a daughter, a sister, a grandma, is one of these women. Our research has the potential to impact each of these individuals. We are the only group in the world working in this area, and if we don't conduct this work, it's very unlikely that anyone will. If we don't receive this grant, we will continue to look for funding. However, the challenge we face is that there are limited funding opportunities for us to apply to. There is no Fertility Saskatchewan of Saskatchewan or Canada that provides funding. Our national funding agency, the Canadian Institute of Health Research, funds very little fertility research because, to a large degree, fertility treatment in Canada has become privatized. And unfortunately, the proposed study does not fit criteria for applying to the Canadian Cancer Society. So, we need help from you to continue this journey. Women supporting women. I can't think of a better way to conduct this important work. With your vote tonight, together, I believe we can improve the lives of women and their families as they navigate the bumpy road of reproductive health. So in closing, I would like to extend a sincere thank you to the RUH Foundation and the Women Leading Philanthropy donors and sponsors for the very important work that you do and your generous support in establishing this terrific funding opportunity. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Well, thank you so much. I have a couple questions for you, and hopefully I capture some of these. Okay.
There you go. You're good.
So I have a couple questions that I hope capture some of the sentiment of what our viewers at home are thinking of too. But why Australia? How did you get linked up with them?
So that's a great question. We have conducted some preliminary research to look at how follicles grow in women of reproductive age and also as they're transitioning to menopause. And in order to do this, we needed to partner up with hormone experts. So we provide the ultrasound expertise on our end, and we recruit patients from Saskatchewan and Canada. And then our collaborators in Australia that we've been working with for over 10 years now, they provide the hormone expertise.
Cool. And what about thinking ahead to 3 years from now? Can you tell our donors what would be different for the patients at RUH if everything went down the primrose path as you see it?
So this study is aiming to characterize how hormones change as follicle waves develop throughout the menstrual cycle in women of reproductive age. We would love to be able to tackle everything at once and look at reproductive age as well as the transition to menopause, but it's too much, it's not practical and too expensive to do it all in one study. So 3 years from now, we plan to have data that will allow us to understand how hormones are changing and how they're regulating the growth of follicle waves in women of reproductive age. And then that will allow us to be positioned to be very competitive for national and international funding to continue to look at this in women during the transition to menopause, during fertility therapy, and even during the use of hormonal contraception.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barewald. I'm pleased to welcome our second finalist of the evening, Dr. Laura Hopkins, and her project titled Enhanced Recovery for Gynecological Oncology, or ERGO, Improving the Surgical Experience of Women with Cancers of the Reproductive Tract. Dr. Hopkins is a gynecological oncologist with 18 years of experience providing surgical care, chemotherapy, and palliative support for women with cancer. She is a full professor in the Division of Oncology at the University of Saskatchewan and the provincial lead for gynecological cancer at the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency. She has a master's degree in clinical epidemiology. Mary, I need your support on these. And her research interests include quality improvement and medical education. Good luck, Dr. Hopkins.
My name is Krista Harlick, and I am a high school art teacher in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And this journey kind of started around the time when I was actually going on holidays, and I ended up going to the Medi clinics. I wasn't feeling so well, and one thing sort of led to another, and I ended up with MRIs, finding that I had some tumors on my ovaries. And then I was referred to Dr. Hopkins, and things really went fast from there. We found out that I had borderline tumors and that my ovaries were going to need to be removed in order to prevent kind of cancer from progressing, I guess. I struggled a lot with kind of emotional and mental anxiety just with everything going on and possibility that I had cancer being so young. I'm only 29, so it was really hard kind of news to get when I had only gone into the doctor for stomach pains. So it was kind of a really big shock to me to find out that this could be cancer. Throughout all of this, I've kind of realized some things about this surgery since I was cut from such a large area. It's kind of amazing how much you actually use all your core muscles. I wasn't really aware of that at first, but doing anything was painful. Rolling over, going to the bathroom, walking, sitting up straight has been a challenge. It's been a really long journey, and I still feel like I'm recovering. I'm a squeamish person, so seeing such a large incision with no bandages on it was terrible for me. It was so hard to even look at it, and I was encouraged to rub it and put oil on it, and just the thought of doing any of that was just so scary for me. So it was very difficult, and still it's a little bit strange because, it's amazing how much nerves get affected in this. I never really thought that was going to be a thing, but there's so much numbness and it just doesn't feel like it's part of your body anymore. And it's kind of something that's hard to get through your brain, that this is still a part of me, and this is the new reality, I guess.
My name is Laura Hopkins, and I'm a gynecologist here at the Royal University Hospital. I'm the provincial head of gynecologic cancer. I've been in Saskatchewan about a year now, almost, and our project for the Women Leading Philanthropy grant is called Enhanced Recovery in Gynecology. And this project is intended to improve surgical outcomes for women with gynecologic cancer. And what we intend to do is transform surgical care at the RUH. Our team is made up of doctors and nurses, and we have roles that span the time from a patient being referred to our service for a surgical consultation all the way through to admission at the RUH for surgery, recovery at the RUH, and recovery at home for the first few weeks. And if you can imagine being a patient who's facing surgery for a known or suspected gynecologic malignancy, your life is turned upside down. The last thing you need is a surgical complication. What you really want is an absolutely perfect procedure that goes without any complications. You want to get home to your families as soon as possible. And it's not just for most of our patients, but for all of our patients. It's not about meeting surgical standard of care, it's about raising the surgical standard of care. That's the essence of this culture shift.
My name is Carolyn Morin. I'm a nurse specialized in wounds, ostomy, and continence nursing, and I see many patients post-operatively. Post-operative wound complications present a variety of problems. Having people come back in hospital and requiring additional surgery causes all sorts of stress for the patient and cost to the healthcare system. If patients need to go on to have chemotherapy, having a wound can really delay that and adds more stress to an already stressful situation. So anything we can do to prevent complications and ease the transition for people to leave hospital, go home, and then deal with the next stage of their recovery is important.
The ultimate goal of an enhanced recovery pathway for gynecology patients is a normal, uncomplicated recovery from surgery for everyone. The funding is important to do this work because getting a lot of busy healthcare workers to work together, even on something simple, can be a challenge. So we need to have a project manager, basically. So someone to schedule meetings, get us together, work us through all of the elements of ERAS, allow discussion, and allow that wisdom of the frontline providers to inform the ease with which we can implement all the various things that we need to do in this project. Ultimately, this project, if it's successful, it's going to change care across the entire OR. It has been said that the OR is a complex adaptive environment. That's what they teach us at meetings about how people work together. And what that means is that when you change one thing in one place, in a complex adaptive environment. It doesn't just happen in isolation. It has ripple effects that change care in other rooms because, for example, nurses move from room to room. They don't just work with one surgeon. They work with many surgeons. And the more education that one team has, the more that they can share that education with others. So improving in one site will cause improvement across all sites because practice will change and the culture changes with it.
I want nothing more than to have other people like me have great experiences in the hospital because I feel that, the threat of cancer is such a big thing for so many people that a hospital stay shouldn't be something that should be worrying them as well.
And we don't need to just do this in gyne-oncology. Remember, we need to do it for everyone. We really need to change the culture because the chance of any one of us having surgery in our lifetime is very high. And there are statistics on this. And every person in Canada will have, on average, 3 surgical procedures in their lifetime. So that means all of us are pre-op. We just may not know it right now. So it's very, very important for us to work collaboratively together to get this project done as soon as possible so we can start changing care now. Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. What do I do?
You can just stop talking.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to open by saying I love the operating room. And it's my favorite place to be. I think that's partly because I'm a perfectionist. I've always been a perfectionist. And I was one of those kids that always kept their room and everything in it in perfect condition. And I helped my mom keep the house the same way, very clean, perfectly tidy. And I always wanted a perfect score on every test I ever took. I love the OR. I love it because of the things we can do there. We can cure cancer in the OR. We can fix things that aren't right, and we can make you feel better. And we can make you live better and even live longer. I love the operating room because everyone who works in there wants everything to go perfectly for every patient. But sometimes that's not possible, or it doesn't happen. That room can be a risky place to be unless everyone who works there can think of every possible thing that can go wrong and put measures in place to prevent those things from happening. So I'm talking about complications, and what I mean by that are things that prevent you from getting home. Maybe you can't eat because you have nausea and vomiting. Maybe you have pain like Krista that's so bad you can't take a deep breath, or you can't pee, or you can't move around in the bed, or never mind move out of the bed and walk around. Maybe you have an infection problem with the area where the surgery took place. The wound can open up if it gets an infection, and nurses like Carolyn come and have to tend to you on a daily basis for weeks on end. All those things are preventable and possible, and that's what I really love about the OR, the possibilities, and this project is about love. Let me give you a few more details because I think there's a couple of questions just from watching the movie. I mentioned ERAS in the movie, and that stands for Enhanced Recovery After Surgery. And this is a worldwide network of surgeons and nurses who all want the same thing, which is a perfect surgical result for every patient. And we know how to do this. It's by things that we do before, during, and after surgery. And I'll give you some examples so you have an idea. One thing that can happen before surgery is patients can wash the night before and the morning of the operation with a soapy sponge that has antibacterial medication in it. And that can dramatically reduce the chance of getting an infection. Something that we can do during surgery and that we're pretty fixated and focused on is pain management, because we want everyone who has an operation to wake up comfortable and pain-free. And that's not a simple thing. It's not like just giving a dose of a narcotic to someone. There are multiple steps and multiple medications, and we need to use all of them, and in the right order and in the right amount, to have perfect pain control. Some things that can be done after surgery, I don't know if you knew this, but chewing gum after surgery speeds the return of normal bowel function, and so does having a cup of coffee or tea the morning after surgery. And nutrition is very important, because without nutrition you can't heal normally. So we want everyone to eat as soon as possible after surgery. It helps make the recovery much faster. So those are some things at different points in time. I want to tell you about something a bit more complex that's harder to do, because everyone who works in the healthcare team has a role and a part, going from the time of booking for surgery all the way through to discharge from hospital. And that has to do with sugar. And sugar is sweet and very nice, but if you have too high a concentration of sugar in your blood, it prevents healing, and it prevents infection-fighting cells in the blood from doing their job. And diabetics know a lot about that, because they have a hard time keeping their sugars normal, and they tend to run high. And so their whole lives, they're at risk to developing infections. And surgery makes it worse. So surgery is a very big stress. Most of our procedures take 2 to 3 hours to do. Imagine screaming for 2 to 3 hours. That's what it's like for your body to have someone open you up and start taking things out. And that screaming, of course, we don't hear it because patients are asleep from surgery and they're paralyzed and they have pain management. But there is sort of a silent kind of scream that goes on, and that releases a whole pile of hormones, and those hormones cause blood sugar to go up, which increases infection. So something you can do to reduce the risk of infection then would be to screen everyone who's going to have surgery for diabetes, and there's a very simple blood test for that. We can do that before we even plan the surgery, so that women that have diabetes can have their sugars managed with medications before, during, and after surgery, so that things are as normal as possible. And if you can do that, you can reduce the risk of infection from developing by 60%. And while I was still working in Ottawa, we proved that. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that can be done to prevent complications from surgery. The list is actually quite long, and there's more than 17 different things that we need to do. And we can't do that without support, which brings me to the funding. And in the movie, I talk about a project manager, but that role is very, very big. And it's bigger than just booking meetings. We need someone who has knowledge, education, skills, training, and time, who can go into every health record of every patient that we ever have operated on and plan to operate on, and tell us what our complications are, so that we know if we're improving. So we need to know things like how long someone's in the hospital, how many infections did our patients develop, what kinds of infections were they, did anyone have nausea and vomiting, who bled and needed a blood transfusion, who had pain and couldn't go home because we didn't have control. No one's going to volunteer for that job. That's going to take time, weeks and weeks and weeks, and I figure that's a full-time job for someone for about 2 years. And without someone in that role, this project cannot happen. But this project isn't about money. I love the operating room, and this project is about love. And I thank you for listening.
Thanks, Laura. I'm just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about the patient satisfaction that you're hoping to see out of this?
Well, most patients that have a cancer operation are satisfied.
Right. Okay.
When we're finished, because we have removed, if not all of the problem, we have dealt with a large volume of it. So there's an instantaneous relief, both emotionally emotionally, and then you just feel better when all that corruption is out of your body, believe me. It's almost instantaneous. But more than that, I dream that in this project we can have people like Krista involved that can tell us what isn't in ERAS, so that we can make this a very Saskatchewan-centric project for our women here that have cancer. And we will be the first in the country to do this. No program anywhere has been able to do all of the measures of ERAS. It is a lot of work, but I think it will be very, very gratifying work, and it's going to be very good for women and their families.
Great. And then I saw something about in your application about IV iron. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I did mention bleeding.
Okay.
And a lot of the women that we operate on have had chemotherapy, and that leads to anemia. And what we tend to do now is if a woman is weak after surgery because they've lost a lot of blood, we either give a blood transfusion or we don't. We kind of muscle through it and take some iron. We would like to use a fancy type of intravenous iron called monoferric that we could give pre-operatively to women that we know are at risk. It's not any surprise to us when we're operating what we're going to be doing in there. We do have an idea ahead of time of what we're going to find and the kind of extent of surgery that'll be necessary. So we can predict, and we could deliver iron ahead of time, and that would prevent blood transfusions either during and after surgery. And there's a fair bit of complexity and expense to doing that.
Yeah, blood transfusions, any blood transfusion that you have throughout your lifetime, that's going to create complications. You could have antibodies and prevent, or possibly complications down the road if you need another one. So tell us about why you think women leading philanthropy donors should vote for you.
I think they should vote for improved surgical care, not just for women, but for everyone. I do see this being transformative in nature in terms of the project. When we're able to show dramatic reductions in all forms of complications from surgery, it'll have ripple effects, as I was saying. And in a pandemic, it's very important because we all know that many people have had their surgeries canceled recently. Not cancer, but all elective surgery was put on hold. And I was looking at these statistics in the spring, and on average in Saskatchewan, there are about 7,500, 8,000 surgeries per month. And in March, that number went down to 2,000 and stayed there. And one of the things that, besides COVID, that can limit access to surgery is the number of people that are in hospital still recovering from the operation that they had. So having much higher level of care in terms of surgical outcomes and getting people home and getting them home well and quick makes room for more people to have their surgery. So it will ultimately, I believe, affect wait times for surgery, not just for cancer, but for everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So since being invited to be a part of Women Leading Philanthropy, I have been so inspired by the projects, the physicians, the passion of this organization. And when I hear the projects, I'm excited about them and the change that it will make for women in the province. And yet it's always felt a little bit distant. Until this January, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And the work that this committee and these doctors do became so much more real. And so hearing the stories tonight both feel really close to home, and it's kind of hard to know that we have to pick just one recipient tonight. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to the doctors who continue to do this incredible work, for rallying around things and change that needs to happen in our province for women. And, I had a great surgical experience, but I talked to a lot of women who haven't had them. So, great project. And also, fortunately I had my children before having cervical cancer, but I can't imagine that have been reversed and not having options. Well, I guess what I want to say is I would like to invite everyone in this room and watching to invite one friend to join Women Leading Philanthropy, because wouldn't it be amazing if next year we could fund both projects if we didn't have to choose. So again, a huge thank you to both of you for your work. Keep going, keep it up, because from a patient's perspective, I appreciate all the people behind the scenes who made my experience smooth and helped me move beyond this disease. And we also have a very meaningful gift to say thank you for all the hard work that you've done, so you can pick that up after.
Well, I know everyone is anxious to cast their votes for tonight, and especially after hearing those presentations. But we want to make a draw for our door prize tonight, and so each of our members have been entered to win a beautiful Hilberg and Burke piece. And I want to thank Rachel for providing this, but I want to ask you to describe what you've given to one of our donors.
So normally we give our signature Hilberg and Burke Sparkle Ball earrings, but today's a really special day at Hilberg and Burke, and we just launched our very first Hilberg and Burke fine jewelry line. So we have picked a beautiful piece from our fine jewelry line, which is 14 karat gold. The piece has morganite and diamonds, and you will be one of the first people globally to own this piece. So as a really special thank you to all of our members, we wanted to say thank you, donate this piece, and one of you lucky ladies will be going home with it tonight.
Awesome. What are we doing that now?
Cue the envelope.
Okay.
And the winner is Caitlin Pierce.
Awesome. Congratulations, Caitlin. We'll get in touch with you.
And she is a new WLP member, so
congrats.
Thank you for signing up.
That's awesome. Yeah. Make sure you can post a picture on the Facebook site of your new bling for us so we can see it. That would be awesome. Okay, so now is the time that we've all been waiting for. It's time for you to choose the 2020 Women Leading Philanthropy $100,000 grant recipient. Okay, so I'm going to read from my notes here so I make sure that we're doing this right. For our members on Facebook Live, in a minute the Facebook Live feed will end and you will see a SurveyMonkey link pop up in the group. Click that link and it's going to take you out of Facebook and into your internet browser for those of you who haven't used a computer. Mark your vote. Once your voting is complete, please return to the Facebook page. You must return to the Facebook page to see the winner and then join us in the celebration. And we've got the balloons ready. If you have any issues, please write a message in the Facebook group and someone from the foundation will contact you. And so you only have 2 minutes to cast your vote, so please do it as soon as you see the link. Are we ready to go? Can I get a thumbs up that the link is up? The SurveyMonkey link is up and our Facebook Live is going to go.
Hello again, and thank you. Thank you for casting your vote. Thank you for being with us tonight. As we've experienced, WLP empowers women to determine how their donation dollars will be invested. This is your program, and this is your chance to use your voice to make real change in healthcare for women and their families. Shortly, we will be announcing the $100,000 grant recipient. But before the grand finale, we wanted to provide you with a short update from our past grant recipients. We're excited to hear about how the support they received from WLP donors is transforming healthcare and how they have been able to persevere through the pandemic. Please welcome our inaugural Women Leading Philanthropy grant recipient representing the Uterus Project, Dr. Candace Yappel-Crown.
Hello. So it's hard to believe that it's been 2 years since the Uterus Project was made a reality. I'm thrilled to be here and give you an update on what this project has been able to achieve through the generosity of all of you and the donors for the WLP. In the past 18 months since enrollment began for the Uterus Project, we have enrolled over 60 women with endometrial cancer to participate. These women have had access to genetic testing more quickly than they would have otherwise, and in some cases to genetic testing they would not even have had available to them otherwise. Of the women who have completed genetic testing, 6 women have been diagnosed with Lynch syndrome. Lynch syndrome is a hereditary cancer syndrome, just as a reminder, that increases the risk of both colon and endometrial cancer. These women now have access to more advanced screening and surgical options to help detect future cancers earlier or prevent them entirely. Without this information, they may not have even been aware that the screening was available to them or that they should have it done. Testing and have access to the same important cancer screening. These diagnoses were made years before we would have been able to see them in the genetics clinic. Also importantly, we were able to tell 5 women and their families that they do not have Lynch syndrome. This is something we weren't able to do prior to this project. The testing just wasn't available. These women now don't need to worry about extra cancer screening. They don't need to worry about their children. Beyond this, we were also able to provide reassuring genetic test results for many women who are enrolled in the project that their cancer is unlikely to have a hereditary basis. One woman was identified to have a hereditary cancer syndrome that is not typically associated with endometrial cancer at all, which provides really important information going forward in our clinic as well. However, we aren't done just yet. So we have stopped enrollment in the project in terms of offering genetic testing, but now we still have a lot of work to do. The first thing we need to do is tie up our loose ends. We have a few women who haven't proceeded with their genetic testing despite consenting to the project. So we need to follow up with them and see what's been going on in their lives and if they're still interested. Second, we need to recontact all the participants and we want to get their perspective on genetic testing, the process, to try to come up with our best option for future processes in the province to get women this testing quickly. Once we have completed this aspect of our data collection, our next plan will be publication, as well as presenting this information. And we actually have plans to present at 2 conferences this fall already, virtually of course, and hopefully more in the future. Last but certainly not least, probably the most transformative part of this project is to try to establish this as an ongoing test. And so we're hoping to, we do know that we have the support of the SHA going forward for this testing, but we need to figure out the best way to do it. In the genetics clinic, we've used this testing as an opportunity to justify decreasing the wait time for patients suspicious of Lynch syndrome. So they're placed on a shorter wait list. It's still a year long, but it is shorter than it was previously. Ideally though, what we'd like to do is partner with the pathology department so that we would be able to offer this testing at the time of diagnosis. And part of that is going to be providing that testing as an in-province test. And so we want to establish with a local lab the ability to do that test. And so part of this project then is moving forward with that and helping that proceed. So as with most transformative initiatives, of course, time, dedication, and funding is needed. And the Uterus Project was no exception. But we could not have done this without the support of the WLP, its members, and the donors. So thank you for helping change the lives for so many women in our province, and so many more to come.
Awesome. Stay right there just for 1 second, because I want to say how important this has been as well, because for the last 3 years, nobody even had this tumor hereditary cancer testing on their radar. I had seen it once on Twitter, and it was being done by a genetic counselor in Ohio, and there was like no way that this was ever coming to Saskatchewan. But since you've been doing the Uterus Project and talking with the lab, it looks like we're going to be able to continue it on here for the province, which is crazy because we need to get your wait time down.
Yeah.
We need to get those women off that wait list so that they don't have to worry. And I would love, I know that you said the 6 women about testing positive for Lynch syndrome, but I would love to know the number of family members that has helped them and influenced and provide more information.
Yeah, and we're a bit slow getting there because of COVID, but I've seen several already, at least 5. So, and it mostly starts with the kids, right?
Okay.
So, and then it proceeds out to the siblings and past that. So,
Amazing.
Yeah, we're getting it rolling now that we have the diagnoses in place and getting that testing going.
You guys really needed that boost. You needed that
We
$100,000
did.
to get on the radar. Now everybody, now Colon's looking for it.
Yes,
The
Colin wants
Colons, the colon people want it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So
And then next up with the type of tumor testing we're doing is also for BRCA, for breast ovarian.
awesome.
So it's the same test, it's the same way to do it, it's just a different
Disease
goal.
thing, yeah.
So
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Candace. As WLP donors, it is such a privilege to be a part of such amazing work, and it's so amazing to hear now 2 years later the impact of real women, some who have found out news that they have Lynch syndrome and others who have found out that they don't. And so your update and the impact is truly powerful for us to hear. I now want to welcome Dr. Sue Kim to the podium for her update on the aftermath of mastectomy and breast reconstruction, sorting out shoulder dysfunction through biomechanical analysis. Please welcome Dr. Kim.
Good evening, and I can't believe it's been already a year for myself, where I can certainly relate with how Dr. Barewald and Dr. Hopkins are feeling right now. But based on your presentations tonight, it certainly looks like it's not going to be an easy decision for the WLP members to pick the $100,000 recipient. Thank you for this opportunity to provide a brief update on our WLP project, which was funded last year. And at my June update, I had mentioned that we were fortunate enough to have started our data collection early, and we had recruited 29 women for our study. And when COVID sort of hit and things shut down, we decided to analyze that data, and we had prepared 2 journal publications based on that data. And so I'm happy to report that since June, those 2 papers were submitted to different journals. The first paper we titled, The Effect of Breast Reconstruction on the Kinematics and Performance During Upper Limb Focused Functional Tasks. And we submitted this paper to the Journal of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery because we wanted to really get that message out to the surgeons. And so tonight I thought I would share some of the reviewers' response, because we just heard back from them last week. And aside from a few minor edits that they want us to make, they were very pleased with our submission. So one of the reviewers said, quote, "First, I want to congratulate the authors on doing this work. I think it's incredibly important and woefully understudied. So kudos to them for putting this out there. For me, just getting this information into the consciousness of plastic surgeons is the paper's major strength. It opens several avenues for further study." End of quote. One of the other reviewers said, quote, "I applaud the authors for their large sample size and the evaluation of numerous aspects of kinematic function. I think that this is important literature for our readership to help guide discussions regarding reconstruction, as well as guide possible post-operative physical therapy for breast cancer survivors." So although the reviewers were saying kudos to us for writing the paper, I want to turn that around and really just say kudos to every single WLP member that made this research possible and for allowing us to put this research out there. The second paper, which is titled Development of Rotator Cuff Disease After Breast Cancer Treatment, a proposed pathway developed from empirical data of post-mastectomy and post-reconstruction breast cancer survivors. And that was for a different journal, and we haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm hoping that their response will be just as positive, and our paper will be published to them, and we'll get it out into the public. I also mentioned in June, I was really excited about a spin-off project that was quite fitting for this restricted COVID-19 environment. And so what we decided to do was, after learning what we did about the position of the shoulder blade for women who have had breast reconstruction and the muscle recruitment patterns that they were using, we took that information and we tailored some specific shoulder exercises. And we developed an app where those exercises are embedded, and there's videos of the exercises. And over the summer, we were busy working on the first version of that shoulder app. And the app is really cool. I'm really proud of it. The women do it from home. They hold their cell phone in their hand, and we can measure their shoulder range of motion with the functions within the cell phone. So they don't need to come in, and we don't need to measure anything. We can get information of how they're doing with different questionnaires that are embedded in it. And in September, we launched our first pilot to test this app. And so I'm happy to say that we've got 8 women enrolled so far, and we're hoping to increase that enrollment. But based on their feedback, we're going to modify the app, we're going to improve the app so that for January of 2021, we're hoping to have a larger sort of randomized control study to look at the efficacy of those exercises that are in that app. That was only possible because of your support. So those are our 2 main updates from our project. And again, I want to sincerely thank the donors of the Women Leading Philanthropy group. This past year has been an amazing journey with so many different opportunities that open up because of this grant project, and none of this would be possible had it not been for your generous donations.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I mean, I can only say, as somebody who also submits academic publications, I have never had a reviewer say anything like that. I mean, come on, have you seen not just reviewer number 2, but reviewer number 1? Like they would never be that glowing. So that's amazing. And second of all, that is impressive during COVID. Now the women can do it at home, so they're not having to go out and put themselves at risk just so they can get their therapies.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Amazing. That's so amazing. Okay.
I left my script over there.
All right. Well,
but I think I know what's going to happen.
Can share off
Okay.
from a safe distance,
Okay.
Mary.
Okay.
So it's a time we've all been waiting for. The votes cast online and in person have been tallied, and I have the envelope in my hand. Thank you so much to Dr. Angela Barewald, Dr. Laura Hopkins, for being here tonight, for sharing your vision for the future of women's healthcare, and with our amazing WLP donors. It has been an inspirational evening, and I am so proud to be a part of this program.
I'm very proud. Okay, good luck to each of you. You are each positively impacting healthcare, and really the donors. This program about the accountability and about how we're taking charge of how we want to see our healthcare dollars put towards promoting women is just one of the great privileges that I've had in my career so far. And I'm really truly honored that you're all from the University of Saskatchewan. It's amazing. So with that, I think that we're going to open it together, and we're going to say it together.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna, I actually don't, I want you to do it because I actually don't know if I can do it. I'm too nervous.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the 2020 WLP $100,000 grant, COVID edition, Dr. Laura Hopkins. Congratulations. Come on up.
I wish I could hug you both right now. That's amazing.
No hugs?
The stage is yours. Congratulations.
Where do you want me? Okay. With the
Yeah, one more time. Woo!
It's great.
Congratulations.
Woo!
Little wave to the donors.
Where are they? Oh, you're there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Congratulations to our 2 finalists and 2 amazing women physicians. This has been really a remarkable evening demonstrating the power of women leading philanthropy.
Absolutely. Again, congratulations to both of you, and we're excited to watch you and hear next year. Can't wait. And I also hope that there's a way to find you funding as well. So, I mean, the work continues for all of us, I think. Thank you to all of the WLP donors for being a part of this project, whether it's your first year or you've been a part of this all 3 years. This is such a special program, as you can see tonight. Even though we're doing this in a little bit of a different fashion, I'm sure even those of you at home can feel how powerful the energy in this room is tonight. And it is just really electric with anticipation of things I think that we can all see, changes that need to happen in women's healthcare in the province.
I think that, well, you go ahead and tell them about the Facebook group, I guess, because I want to see what the bling looks like on your donor there. Sorry.
Okay, so
I don't know. I'm so excited.
So stay in the Facebook group. We're going to do a bit of a virtual gathering in the Facebook group, and you can interact with one another. We're encouraging you to stay connected to WLP through this group. And truly, what a memorable evening tonight was. And once again, congratulations. We are really, really excited to watch you go.
So while this is bringing the formal part of the evening to a close, like our work here is not done, Rachel talked about how important it is to promote WLP to your friends, to help bring them into our donor circle, and so that we can start trying to give away more $100,000 grants each year. And I think that the cutting edge research that was shown here tonight is probably an easy sell for people. So invite them to join us in growing it tonight. And see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Bye.